Good morning, student. Hope you all are doing well. So today we will start new chapter, that is chapter number 1, matter in our surrounding. At the end of this video, I will be giving you few questions for your homework. So let's start. So children, as we look around our surroundings, we see a large variety of objects around us. The nature and behavior of different types of substances around us are different. These substances differ in their shapes, sizes, colors, smells, texture, etc. It is possible that two substances may have similar appearance, but still they may be different. For example, sodium chloride or common salt and powdered sugar on our dining table are white solids and have almost similar appearances, but both are different substances. As we all know, they have many different properties. Do you ever thought that all the living things around us are like in one way? They all are made up of materials to which the scientist has given the name matter. All the things around us, the air we breathe, the food we eat, the clouds, the stars, the plants and animals, the stone, sand, the everyday substances that we use like wood, salt, paper, steel, ice, water are matter. They all have mass and occupy space. So what would be the definition of matter? Yes, the definition of matter would be anything that occupies space and has mass is called matter. Thus, we can say that all objects around us are composed of matter. For example, a book occupies some space. If you pick up the book, you can feel its weight. Similarly, air, water, a cube of sugar, iron rod have mass and occupy space. Thus, to understand the world around you, it is essential to know about matter. Since the early times, the human beings have been trying to understand their surroundings. The Greek and Indian philosophers and scientists have been trying to analyze and classify the matter. The early Greek philosophers suggested that there are four basic elements: fire, water, air and earth, which constituted all materials. Interestingly, almost same concept was developed by Indian philosophers. According to Indian philosophers, all matter or padarth, living or non-living, is made up of 5 basic elements called the Panch Tattva. These are sky, air, fire, water and earth. According to them, everything living or non-living is made up of these basic 5 elements. However, in modern science, matter can be classified in two types. The first classification is physical classification based on the physical properties of matter. Second one is the chemical classification based on chemical composition of matter. In the present unit, we shall learn about matter based on physical properties. The chemical aspects of matter will be learned in next chapters. Now coming to the next topic, that is physical nature of matter. First property of physical nature of matter is composed of particles. The earlier philosophers believed that matter is continuous like a block of wood. They believed that everything like air, water is a single element as a whole. However, later work has shown that all matter is made up of tiny pieces or particles. The particles which make up matter are so small that we cannot see them even with high microscope. Even without seeing them, we have certain evidences which show that all the things are made up of very large number of tiny particles. For example, even a small drop of rainwater weighing about 0.05 gram contains about 10 to the power 21 particles of water in it. So now let us perform an activity to understand the nature of matter, whether it is continuous or discontinuous. Now what you have to do, you have to take a 100 milliliter beaker, fill the beaker up to half with water and mark the water level. Dissolve a small amount of sugar or salt with the help of a glass rod. Observe the change in water level and note your observation. Now the question arises, what do you think has happened to sugar or salt? Where does it disappear? Does the level of water change? Now the answer of these questions we will discuss here. We observe that the sugar or common salt has completely dissolved in water. Therefore, we are not able to see it. It must have spread completely in between water. This gives us the idea that matter must be made up of particles. The particles of sugar or salt have spread throughout the water. As we know, we cannot spread the block of wood, but we can easily spread sawdust obtained from the same block. Thus, we can say that sugar or salt is a collection of large number of particles. So this experiment proves that matter is composed of particles. Children's, now question has been arising in your mind that how small are the particles of matter? The next question which comes to mind is how small are the particles of matter? This can be understood by the next activity. So for the next activity what you have to do, you have to take 100 milliliter of water in a beaker, add 2 to 3 crystals of potassium permanganate in it and stir to dissolve. Add 2 to 3 crystals of potassium permanganate in it and stir to dissolve. The solution will become dark pink color. Take out 100 milliliter of this solution and put it into 90 milliliter of clear water in another beaker. The total volume of 200 milliliter. Place your two solutions side by side on the table. Now take 10 ml of the solution prepared in step 2 and put it into another 90 milliliter of clear water in another beaker. Keep diluting the solution like this about 5-8 times. Now question has been arising in your mind that is the solution still colored? How many times you can dilute the solution so that you don't see the pink color in the solution? How does this tell us about the particles in the crystals? So this experiment shows that a few crystals of potassium permanganate can color a large volume of water as large as about 1000 liter. We may conclude that there must be million and million of tiny particles in just one crystal of potassium permanganate which keep on dividing themselves into smaller and smaller particles. Ultimately, a stage may reach when these particles cannot be divided further into smaller particles. The same activity may be repeated by using about 2 milliliter of Dettol instead of potassium permanganate. It is observed that the smell can be detected even on repeated dilution. Thus, we may conclude that the second property of physical nature of matter is the particles of matter are very small. They are small beyond our imagination. Now moving to third properties of physical nature of matter. The third property is particles of matter have spaces between them. The activity which we have done earlier shows that the particles of sugar, salt, Dettol, or potassium permanganate get evenly distributed in water. Similarly, when we prepare tea, coffee or lemonade, you can say nibu pani, we observe that particles of one type of matter get into the spaces between particles of the other. This shows that there is large space between particles of matter. Now the next property of physical nature of matter is particles of matter are continuously moving. Particles of matter are continuously moving in all directions. Sometimes when a beam of sunlight enters a dark room through a small hole, we can see tiny dust particles suspended in air which are moving in a haphazard way. The movement of particles can be understood by the following activity. Let us perform the following experiment. Take an stick or agarbatti and place it in a corner of your room. Smell this stick. How close do you have to go near it so as to get its smell? Now light the stick and note the observation. Do you get the smell of the incense stick sitting at a distance? You will observe that when you light the incense stick, its smell spread quickly and you can get its smell even sitting at a distance from it. This observation shows that particles of matter are not stationary, but they are continuously moving in all directions. Due to the movement of particles, they possess what we call the kinetic energy. As the temperature rises, the particles move faster, so we can say that with increase in temperature, kinetic energy of the particles also increases. Now the particles of perfume in the incense stick mix with the particles of air around us and spread. Due to spreading of particles, and smell of the perfume goes all over the room. Therefore, we can get its smell even sitting at a distance from it. Now, what would be the definition of diffusion? The intermixing particles of two substances on their own is called diffusion. Leaking of or leakage of cooking gas in our home is detected due to diffusion of a strong smelling substance that is mixed with the liquefied petroleum gas or LPG. Now the last property of physical nature of matter is particles of matter attract each other. Particles of matter attract each other. There are some forces of attraction between the particles of matter which bind them together. Let us learn about the attractive forces between particles by performing the following activities. Let us play a game on the playground. Divide the class into group A, B, C and D of students. Ask the three groups A, B and C to make human chain as. The first group, that is A, should hold hands to form a human chain. The second group, that is B, should hold hand each other from the back and lock arms, like you have seen in Bihu dance, a folk dance of Assam. Third group, that is C, should form a chain by touching each other with only their fingertips. Ask the fourth group, that is D. Students run around each human chain and try to break these human chains only by one into as many small groups as possible. Now what do you observe? Which group was easiest to break and why? We observe that the human chain formed by student of group C is easiest to break because they cannot hold each other strongly. Now if we consider each student as a particle of matter, that we can say the particle in group C are held together with weakest force.